An individual development plan is called an individual plan because it's your own plan. However, your plan is probably going to be ideal if you get input from a number of different mentors.
Mentors are really critical in any career, in any profession, but that is particularly true for science. And I do think that is because the PhD and the postdoc position are very long, and they don't necessarily have landmarks that you have in a school or at a university. So it relies on a lot of self-discipline and very good planning and very good goal setting. And I think if you're just left by yourself to do that, chances are you're not going to get as far as you could if you had somebody who could help you along the way. And help does not necessarily mean facilitate a particular step like an experiment, but it really means talking to you, talking about your goals, helping you become aware of the goals, but also guiding you maybe in different directions in case your direction is maybe not the best thing to pursue.
So I developed my plan for my thesis project mostly by having these types of planning meetings with my advisor, where early on you basically make a plan to explore like a particular scientific question by doing some kind of targeted experiments that are going to show you whether or not your system is working or there's an interesting question to answer. That changes over time, where the meetings are then focused on rounding out a project and also making sure you get the resources that you need to further your career and your development as a scientist. And so those types of planning meetings definitely change over time, and in the end are focused on rounding out a project, getting you to the next step, whether or not it could be a job in industry, a postdoc, an internship in science policy. It could be any number of things, but all of those require skills and development in graduate school in order to get you there. And so basically, like, going through this process of planning meetings and adapting to the changing needs of a student was how I approached the development of my thesis project.
Sometimes students or postdocs aren't sure how to approach their mentor or the research advisor specifically to discuss their IDP. I think it's helpful to schedule this as a meeting outside of your typical weekly meeting where you might discuss your research results. Give your research advisor a heads up that you want to have a discussion about big picture goals for the year. That way, your research advisor's in kind of the right frame of mind for that kind of conversation. You should plan to do your homework. Come into the meeting with an agenda, right? You may or may not bring a whole printed IDP. It might make more sense to come in with an agenda of the types of things in your IDP that you want to discuss with your mentor. Do you want to ask your advisor for help developing a certain skill? Or do you want to ask your advisor for time on Thursday afternoon so that you can go and get teaching experience?
So the most relevant career goal that I set for myself relatively recently was finding a postdoc, which is very, very easy to write down on a piece of paper. But in terms of figuring out what you actually need to do in order to do it well, it's much more nebulous. And so I was really lucky to have an advisor that broke that process down in terms of achievable steps. And it basically took a year to get through that entire process. And I'm happy to say it's now over. So I found the right postdoc, forced myself to finish out some projects, and I'm now in the process of writing it up. But I wouldn't have been able to get there if I hadn't written it down and talked to someone in terms of who would tell me basically what I needed to do specifically to achieve it.
So when you're creating your individual development plan, it's valuable at that time to think about who's offering you mentorship. Consider that team of mentors and consider reaching out to multiple of them to share some of the plans in your individual development plan. The more that you can share, the more advice you'll be able to get that's tailored to the goals that you want to accomplish.